here's the truth. And when I did campus ministry at El Camino College and at Cal State Dominguez Hills, inevitably, when we had people that would come to me that were dating, they would always ask me the same question. Well, Ken, we know that we're not supposed to have sex until we get married. But here's what we want to know. How far is too far? How close can we get to that edge, but not cross the line? How far is too far? I remember this saying that I learned when I was a kid. Never play close to a cliff, because you never know when you're going to hit loose gravel. Right? How far is too far? But we do that when it comes to temptation. I love what it says in Psalm chapter 119, verses 39 and 40. It says, help me abandon my shameful ways, for your regulations are good. I long to obey your commandments. Renew my life with your goodness. I long to obey your commands. And I love that. Help me abandon my shameful ways. Help me to abandon them. Not help me to kind of separate. No, help me to abandon them, like leave them. So what is something that we can do? I have my handy dandy painter's tape here. And I believe that this is something that we can do that will help us to be able to overcome temptation. And you can see that there we go. To help us be able to avoid temptation. So what we have a tendency to do is, if this is the cliff of temptation, then what we want to do is we want to put our tape as close to the edge as possible without going off. And so, and what we'll do is we'll play around the edge, play around the edge, you know, and we'll play around the edge. But the problem is, the more that you play around the edge, the more likely you are to what? To fall off. So, here's my encouragement. If you really want to be able to resist temptation, the best thing to do is move your tape, right? So now that my tape is here, how close am I to the edge? How close am I to the edge? Not close at all. I'm not putting myself at risk. I can sometimes tell the guys that will have affairs on their wives. Because they'll say things like, man, I'd never have an affair. I'd never have an affair on my wife. I'd never have an affair. So what do? They put themselves in crazy situations where they're more likely to do what? Have an affair. How about we do this? Ken, I know that I can have an affair on my wife. I can tell you that I know that I am capable of having an affair on Heidi. I know. I'm honest with myself. I'm honest with my weaknesses. I know. So as a result, I put my tape back here. I don't play near the edge. I make sure that I put certain systems in place so that I will be able to honor her. I make sure. One example, we share Facebook. I don't have my own Facebook account. We share a Facebook account. So if someone wants to see me something crazy, she's going to see it too. We share a Facebook account. That's one example. For Instagram, I'm friends with all my kids and Heidi. So if someone wants to be crazy with me there, they're going to see it there too. So I make sure that I put things in place in order to try to protect us. So here's a question that you might ask yourself. Well, what does it look like? If I'm going to draw the line so that I don't cross it, what does it look like? So let's go back to that example of someone who is single. Let's go back to that example of someone who's single, who is doing something that they know, that they feel like, man, you know what, we want to honor God, we want to do the best thing that we can, but for some reason, when we're alone and the lights are off and Barry White is playing, You know, we have a difficult time. So then what I would say is, very white. But what I would say then is, how about this principle? Never be alone together. Just make a commitment to do that. We're going to protect ourselves by never being alone. Now, there's a way that you can be alone without being alone, correct? Like if you go out to dinner and you're eating a meal together, you're alone, but you're not alone. So there are ways that you can look at it, you can be able to protect yourself. Maybe, again, you don't want to spend money. Maybe you struggle with your money. And maybe you struggle with Amazon. For you, maybe to help you protect yourself, maybe you give your Amazon password to someone else. So no. Not so they can use it. You know? Yeah. Not so they can use it, but so that you can hold yourself accountable. So it should be someone that you trust. Yeah, not just anyone. But what you're saying is, I'm going to put a bigger gap between me and that temptation to step over the edge. And so you began to look at all those things that you can do to be able to watch over yourself. Maybe you have a struggle with watching things that are inappropriate at night. Maybe you struggle with that. Then maybe what you do is at 10 o'clock, you turn off your Wi-Fi. Turn off your Wi-Fi. So your smart TV doesn't work. Yeah, your phone doesn't work. So again, it's just a way for you to be able to protect yourself. Now, I know that some people will look at that and go, but Ken, those standards are high. They're tough. But you have to ask yourself, is my character worth it? Is it worth it for me to protect myself? Is it worth it to my family for me to protect myself? Is it worth it for my dignity for me to protect myself? And I have to be honest with myself too. Because here's the truth. You know the reason why I don't want to draw the line back here? Because honestly, I like to play up here. I like to play up here. And in the scriptures, it talks about that there's a battle between your spirit and your sin nature, that they go head to head against one another. And here's the truth. Which one is going to win the battle? Between your spirit and your sinful nature, the one that's going to win the battle is the one that you feed the most. It's the one that you feed the most. And here's the interesting thing that you will find is when you begin to put those systems in place to try to protect yourself, you'll actually begin to see that you find more freedom. You find more freedom. And you begin to recognize like there's more to life than just that. Like the world opens up because now here's a choice that you are making. In Romans chapter 6, verse 14, it says, sin is no longer your master. For you no longer live under the requirements of the law. Instead, you live under the freedom of God's grace. You are allowing yourself to say, you know what? I'm being set free. I'm being set free, and I'm taking those steps to protect myself. Not because, how do I word this? Because as we look at this passage, I think sometimes as Christians we can become very legalistic about our lives and what we are supposed to do. And the problem is legalism never changes your heart. The reason why we're putting this into place is because my heart has changed. I just want to protect it. I just want to protect it. So that's the idea behind taking that step and being willing to protect yourself.